Hi, everybody. Sandy here from Chicks Talking Pics, and Jenny's joining us again today. Hi, Jenny.
Hello, how are you?
Good, really good. Thank you. So we're here with another episode for you. We have 3 images today. We'll get right into the bulk of the critique or discussion, as we like to call it. And we'll start off with an image sent in from a viewer. These are anonymous images today. You can send in images and tell us you don't want your name out there, and that's fine. We'll do that. And it's a good thing to do sometimes, because if you're going to be entering your image in a competition, and you may not want anybody to know whose it is. So that might be a good idea.
Yeah.
So we start off
with we might have to recuse ourselves if we see it in our competitions.
Yes, that is true. That is true. We would recuse ourselves if this came up in the San Diego Fair competition. All right. So Jenny, do you want to take this one first? I like the pelican.
Sure. Yeah, so that's kind of a common theme going around San Diego this time of year, because the California brown pelicans are getting their breeding colors and hanging out in La Jolla. So a lot of photo clubs and workshops go down, and just individual photographers go down and take pictures of these guys. I like the action in this one. You know, the pelican's obviously just taking off. It's got a very active pose. You can see the splash in the water behind. Yeah, it's got a lot of space to move into. The positioning of the pelican within the frame is nice. I don't know if any of it's the digital copy we have. It doesn't seem super sharp, but that might also just be our digital rendition of it. And yeah, I don't have a whole lot to pick on. There's a few spots that are in the background that look like they might more be water spots in the water rather than sensor spots, but sensor spots are always a good thing to look for. What do you have to say, Sandy?
Yeah, I really like the action. It's just beautiful. You know, the pelican's just taking off from the water, and that splash in the back tells a great story. What you mentioned a little earlier, that little splash up front here, I wonder if that was another pelican that had taken off prior to this one taking off, and this was a highly cropped image. That is might be what's happening here, because it is seems a little noisy to me. Yeah. And not as sharp as it could be because of that reason of a highly cropped image. But I don't know that that's the case. I'm just kind of thinking it through and guessing that might be part of the case. Yeah, it's a little bit noisy, and I think, do you feel that way, Jenny? I think in the bird's wings I see.
Yeah, like I said, I wasn't sure how much of it was just the copy we were given, but there's some kind of weird stripes that aren't just the individual feather marks that are, you know, it's almost grainy.
Yes.
And noisy in parts of it. Yeah, a little bit on the bill. So yeah, that could be from cropping, or we didn't get any metadata, so we don't know what this was shot at. So
right, that's true. But otherwise, the action's great. Love the action. You know, just the whole thing. I wish we'd had a little more light on the bird. It seems like it might have been an overcast day, which is kind of good sometimes. It, you know, brings out those colors. But then the light also helps you increase your ISO or decrease your ISO, so you get a little more speed, and you can get a little more speed when you have light, which might have stopped some of the wing movement. Just a little bit of wing movement doesn't really bother me.
I think that adds with the action, and it does look like there was a little bit of vignette applied, which is a good thing.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, so for me, I think I would just take out that little bit of water in front, so nobody would even have a hint that there might have been another word that might have been splashed off his wing also.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if their wing would be hitting the a couple wing flaps might have hit the water.
Right, that's true too. So I hope our viewer doesn't, or the person that sent it in doesn't get upset with our rendition of this. But yeah, I think I think the composition is great. I don't know that you can improve any of that. So the crop and the composition, everything was great, is great about it. Just not a perfect day for photographing, I guess, or at least for the photographing action or birds in flight. Maybe I was just a little more light was on that bird. Okay, all right, so no metadata for this one, so we're going to go on to the second image. Here we go, and I'll take this one. This is a really cute little image. This is exactly, I've been down to La Jolla to see these are brants, cormorants, and they're in breeding plumage and they are nesting. This one doesn't appear to have any eggs in the nest, but when I was down there the other day, there were lots of them with eggs in the nest. So I'm thinking about going back in a couple of weeks and seeing if those little chicks hatch. So but it's an interesting way they place their nest right on the edge of the cliff. And you can get so, I don't want to say so close, but you're getting within, 7,200, 200 millimeter range to photograph them. So if you don't have a really long lens, that might be something you might want to go down. You're looking down on the birds when you visit this area, and which you've got to time the water. You see a rushing wave behind it. And this maker decided to wait for a wave to come in and give kind of a rendition of a white background, or at least accentuate the wave in the background. Some people choose to wait for the water to rush out and have a bluer, flow of water in the background too. So you have options if you're shooting in this direction. Yeah, this one's cute. It could use more light also. This image, you'd have to be careful not to blow out the background. But I think if you brought out the bird's eye and some of the details in the feathers, you can see that, especially on the one on the left, that there's some translucent, some beautiful color in those feathers that could be brought out. And I can't quite see the eye. And so that would be something that you'd want to work on. Whether you started in camera by using, lightening up the exposure there, I think you could get away with that without blowing out the white background. And then, work on that image and try to bring a little more detail out in the feathers and stuff. And it's nice to see both birds, two birds. It's better always, if you're able to get two subjects in your frame, that's always a good idea. Jenny, go ahead.
Yeah, having the two birds and the one on the nest is focused on the male there. That's kind of, showing himself off a little bit. It does bother me. You can't really see either bird's eyes, or at least one eye on either one. And it seems to me the focus is a bit off. It's the branch is a little sharper than the bird. So I think the focus was just missed a little bit. Yeah, I mean, the hard part about this is, they make these nests out of twigs. And so it's kind of a busy background or foreground, the stuff they're on. So it's a little distracting there. So I think in that case, it's really more important to make sure the birds are standing out and to get a better light on the birds, like you said, so that they're, maybe that background can fall off and be dark and the light's hitting the birds a little more. I think it would be a little more successful. I like the slow motion in the water. That adds a little motion to it.
But yeah, you run the risk of, a bird that isn't sharp.
Yeah.
If you're in slow motion,
you're going to be throwing out a lot of shots if you're trying to, do slow, but catch the action.
That's happened to me very often. It's a game of hit and miss and a little bit of luck thrown in. So
Yep.
Yeah, and I just noticed the third bird way over to the right. There's a third
yeah.
bird there, a little tiny guy, one of those what turnstones or
Yeah,
what
there's black turnstones that wander around on the that area and nibble at the various things on the ground.
So if you go down to La Jolla Shores and look for the cormorants, you can also find the pelicans down there, that first image that we saw, and some turnstones. And they have sea lions and I
Harbor
think what
seals?
else? Seals and harbor seals. Yeah, yeah. So that's a fun place to photograph, close to the shore in San Diego. You know, if you do go photograph something like this is this was probably taken early morning because the cliff shadows these birds. So maybe a little later in the day might be a good time to go and reshoot this. I don't know. Something to think about. And watch your edges. I noticed that over on the right, there's that little tiny white
Yeah.
spot or stick that the maker could, easily get rid of by even cropping. I don't know, this might be work with a little more crop in it. I think that would be great. Crop it a little tighter and that diagonal of the two birds that goes across the screen might be a little more powerful if that was done.
Mm-hmm.
Good. I think this maker sent in their shooting. So 1/90th of a second, which is kind of slow, but maybe for the water, they were trying to get the water a little bit blurry in the background. So, but that's risky again, like we said. 5.6 f-stop aperture is probably pretty good for the action on the first bird. It doesn't look bad. It looks like it's most everything's sharp in there, and ISO of 100. So maybe
gone higher on that ISO.
Yeah, maybe bump up the ISO and the get a little more depth of field, a little maybe. Anyway, it can be done all sorts of ways. So that was great.
Okay.
So we thank you for sending that in, you anonymous person. This is our third image. Again, this person who sent in did not want to be named, and that's fine. We may see this in a competition later on, and that would be great because then we don't know who the maker is. So Jenny, go ahead. You're going to start with this one.
Okay. So when I took a first look at this, it's kind of got a calming feel, and part of that is just the cool palette tones, the gray and the light green and the light blue sky. Some of the things that the bottom's busy with all of the dead grasses and stuff, and I think if you step in closer and make it more about the yucca and maybe go really wide but really close, might have given this a little more dynamic feel to it. Technically it's nice, but there's nothing to wow the viewer. The sky's plain, and the yuccas, it's a nice composition of all of them lined up there, and this is the type of scene I would sit in front of going, what can I do? I really like it. It feels really nice here. How can I photograph this? Those are the types of questions you want to be asking when you're out there. What do you see, Sandy? Because that's about all I can say.
Yeah, no, I agree. I like the palette. It's cool. It's calming, like you said. I think, yeah, the front is a little bit too busy for me. Looks like maybe tumbleweeds or something up front. And it looks like the maker probably tried to darken that front up, although again, I'm thinking maybe, I'm not sure if it was sunrise or sunset, but the sun hasn't risen or set yet, I believe, in this image, and which kind of gives you a lot of stuff to play with. because you can determine what you want to be light and what you want to be dark. And so the maker has put a vignette, or looks like a vignette on the front, or maybe that was, it's the sunset behind it, and it was automatically dark. I don't know. So yeah, I like the fact that there's repetitive yuccas, and you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 basically there, 4 with the, past due flowering stalks on them. So kind of interesting, kind of tells that little part of that story. Yeah, I like it. It's comfortable. I like it, the composition, but I agree with you, Jenny, that you could get in, if you could get in closer and or get rid of that stuff in front, it would have been a much stronger image.
Yeah, make it more about the yuccas. Right now it's more about the environment and the yuccas, and I think if you could get closer and make it just about the yuccas, it would have a little more wow factor.
You could even go vertical with this and just do the 3 yuccas in the middle. So yeah. Let's see if they're, I think this person sent in their settings. So yeah, let's see here. So 1/60th of a second. So the wind must not have been blowing. So that's fine. But ISO 640, that's seems kind of high for a scene like this. F8 is plenty of depth of field. Go ahead.
I was going to say it doesn't seem noisy at all. So, I don't think the ISO would have necessarily been a problem, but it could have been, this might be telling us that it was actually, before sunrise or after sunset, if the ISO is that high.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, would this make a competition? Would this get in? Would it get through into the Del Mar Fair competition?
I would say it wouldn't make second tier.
Right. I agree.
It needs that extra punch to really catch the judges, because we go through a lot of images really fast. I mean, we're taking time here, but when we're judging, it's, a minute and you're on to the next.
Yeah, if a minute, if there's a minute. Yeah, because we look for all sorts of things. First of all, with this much sky in this image, I'd look for dust spots right off the bat, or they would just jump out at me because I'm used to looking for them. So, but I don't see any in this image. So thank you for getting rid of the dust spots, if you had any. So, all right, Jenny. Well, that'll do it for this week. Let's see if anybody out there is interested in sharing their images for the discussion like Jenny and I just did. We'd love to have them. Please send them to chickstalkingpics@gmail.com. And you can, if you can, size them 1920 on the longest side, 1920 pixels on the longest side. We would appreciate it, and send them in JPEG format, and we will take it from there. And again, you can do it anonymously, or you can, give us your name and we'll mention you on the air. And let's see, Jenny, you want to tell them about how to see our stuff?
Yeah, and I also want to mention, if you send your metadata, it gives us a little bit more depth into how you got your image.
Yes, that's good.
Okay, so when you're on YouTube, hit the subscribe button, and then you'll hit the little bell and you'll get notified when we post a new one. We try and do every 2 weeks. Not always there, but we're working hard at it. So hope you can join us.
Yeah, we took a little break there for the holidays, so we are getting back in the swing. And the Del Mar Fair, or it's called the San Diego County Fair. Is that what the whole title is now?
San Diego County
Exhibition.
Fair.
San Diego County
Photo Exhibition.
International Photo Exhibition. There you go. Yeah. Sorry about that, Lois. And it's coming up. So deadline for entries is April 15th. And that's only a couple of months away. So if you need any kind of help or any kind of, feedback on your image, let us know, send your images in, and we will, put them in an episode And so everybody can learn from them.
Yep.
Okay. All right, Jenny, we'll see you next in a couple of weeks then.
Okay,
Bye,
bye.
everybody.